Hey everybody. So for today's video, I really want to talk about some films that are coming out within 2013, and they're films that I'm really anticipating. These are my top 10 most anticipated films of 2013. I'm really looking forward to these. This list was actually very hard to make because there were so many titles I had to choose from, and I can only limit it down to 10 for films that are coming out in 2013. So it looks like we have a ton of films. So I apologize if there's a film coming out soon that didn't make the list, but that's just because I had so many titles I had to look through. I literally looked at a list of all the films coming out in 2013. So these are all titles that I know of. As of now, it sounds like these directors and producers are really hoping to release these at some point in 2013. Um, and who knows, some of these titles might even be on my top 10 for best films of 2013 when that happens around this time in 2014. Um, so let's get started right away. I have these 10 titles I really want to talk about, and like I said, these are just my opinion. But I'm really looking forward to some of these titles I'm going to share with you today. Like I said, I didn't mention, I'm not going to mention every title coming out in 2013. There's going to be some that some of you are like, wait, he didn't mention this one, he didn't mention this one. But these are just some titles that I think are really going to be huge within 2013, and these are just things that I really want to see. So at number 10, we have The Wolverine. It's going to star Hugh Jackman again as Wolverine. From what I've found out, it sounds like James Mangold from Walk the Line is going to direct it. So finally, they have a really good director outside of Bryan Singer directing an X-Men movie. Um, Sounds like it's going to take place after the events of X-Men 3, where Wolverine will be training with a group of samurai of some kind in Japan. And there is an enemy that he goes after that's kind of a threat to mutants, I guess. And I guess they're really going to try to push Wolverine to his limits in this. I saw some pictures already, and Hugh Jackman looks great again. You can definitely tell has been working out ever since he was in Les Miserables. I mean, he just got all his muscle back. He's I would even go so far as to say he even looks even muscular than before. I think it's really neat that he's kind of this chosen one. Everybody views him as the chosen one because of these blades on his hand. So I think it's going to be cool. It looks like a kind of a samurai revenge tale mixed with X-Men, so it might be really cool. And like I said, with James Mangold attached, I'm really hoping it's something special. Darren Aronofsky was originally going to direct the film, and it's really too bad because I think the film could have been even better if Darren was doing it. But I promise, I kind of trust James Mangold on this, and I really hope, from what I've seen in the pictures, that he's going to give us a promising X-Men picture like X-Men First Class was. Um, Number 9 on the list is Catching Fire. It's part 2 in the Hunger Games trilogy of books, and it's going to be part 2 in the film universe of Hunger Games. Really looking forward to it. I really enjoyed the first Hunger Games. From what I've read in the book so far of it, because I'm still reading the Catching Fire book, which I'm actually hoping to do a review for on both my YouTube and Facebook pages um, when I'm done reading that book. But so far, I think from what I've read of it, it's going to be a very interesting movie. Definitely a lot of tributes and homages to the first Hunger Games story, as long as some new material along the way, some new twists. We get to learn more about President Snow in this one. Um, so just a lot more going on. Katniss and Peeta get into even more conflicts and more problems that they face. Um, and there's a whole new twist that's added on as to how the Hunger Games tournament is still incorporated into this series and everything. So it's going to be interesting to see how a film version of that plays out. And from what I know, it sounds like Francis Lawrence from I Am Legend is going to direct it, and I really like his style from what I've seen from his work. So I'm really hoping that the Hunger Games franchise is going to benefit from his vision. Number 8 on the list that doesn't have a lot of details out right now. I have seen a few pictures online of it, but I'm a huge fan of Spike Jonze, and I'm really glad he's finally making another film because he hasn't directed a huge big film since Where the Wild Things Are. I think he did some independent stuff while after that happened, but he really hasn't done a big film yet. After Where the Wild Things Are, and I'm really glad he's finally making that film. It's going to be called Her, and it's going to have Joaquin Phoenix, I believe Rooney Mara, and some other big actresses. I think Olivia Wilde's in this too. And from what I know of it, it sounds like a man falls in love with like his computer processing system at home, or like this machine at his home that can do almost all his commands that he wishes. And so it's going to be interesting, kind of this man falls in love with his own technology kind of a story, kind of views his technology as a woman. Um, I'm a huge, like I said, I'm a huge fan of Spike Jonze, and I'm really interested in seeing how he's going to kind of continue his directing career and what he's going to. Because I'm a huge, I like to write my own stories, and I hope to be a filmmaker someday. And this man's inspired so much stuff with me and with my own work also, and I really can't wait to see what he does with his next film. Number 7 on the list is Kick Ass 2. It's finally being made. Unfortunately, Matthew Vaughn did not return as director. I guess one of his co writers of the first movie is going to direct this one. Um, Aaron Johnson returns as Kick Ass. Chloe Moretz returns as Hit Girl. And we're also going to have some new heroes and villains in this one. Um, Jim Carrey, I guess, is going to be like the Stars and Stripes Colonel. There's Mother Russia. There's some other big names, I guess, that were pretty big in the comics. And the Red Mist returns, and I guess he's going to be the lead villain of the movie. And the actor who played him in the first movie is going to return as Red Mist in this one. So really looking forward to that. That comes out in June of 2013, I believe. The next one is Monsters University, which is my number 6 pick. Really looking forward to Monsters University. I love the first Monsters Inc. Really hoping Pixar does something unique to kind of, because I heard it's a prequel about how Mike and Sully met in college. And I guess they were enemies at first and how they became close friends over time through a series of events that we're going to be experiencing in this new film. So I really hope Pixar does a lot with it. I am a huge fan of Monsters Inc. I remember watching that all the time when I was younger, and I still watch Monsters Inc. a lot to this day. It's just a great, great film. And I really hope Pixar finally gives us another huge film because they really haven't. Cars 2 is, and we had Brave was decent, but it wasn't Toy Story or Monsters Inc. or Finding Nemo big. So I'm really hoping Monsters University is kind of like Toy Story 3, where people really really like it. It's a good sequel. People talk about it for a long time. I really hope it's going to be that kind of a film. Number 5 on the list is actually anticipated by a lot of people. It's called Pacific Rim. It's going to be directed by Guillermo del Toro, who did Pan's Labyrinth and the Hellboy films, the first two. I don't know if he's going to do a third one. But Pacific Rim is going to be kind of the return to kaiju films. It's going to be a giant monster film, similar to Godzilla, similar to King Kong. It's a whole homage and tribute to that kind of storytelling. And I guess how Glamiro is going to do it differently is not only is there a giant monster running around, but the government makes these giant robots to kind of fight off these monsters because it's, that they're destroying everything and we need something to fight back. And so it's going to be kind of this giant robot versus giant monster movie. And what I've seen of it, it looks really incredible. The special effects look great. Um, Idris Abel from Thor, who was kind of the keeper of the guard of the Bifrost, if you've seen that film. He also was in Prometheus and Ghost Rider 2, and he's done a lot of other big stuff. And I really hope that his acting career is even better after this film. Um, really looking forward to Pacific Rim. It's just going to be interesting to see kind of how, these big robots fight these giant monsters, kind of how Guillermo del Toro brings back the kaiju stories, giant monster stories. And because, we haven't had a good Godzilla or good giant monster movie in a long time. And I really hope Glamiro does something to help us kind of remind us of why those form of stories are so good and why we should bring them back to theaters. Number 4 on the list, I'm also really looking forward to, and as you can tell, as these go up in the list, the more I'm looking forward to them. The Lone Ranger. It's going to be made by Disney. Gore Verbinski from Pirates of the Caribbean, the first 3 films, is going to direct it. Um, really looking forward to it. We have Armie Hammer as Lone Ranger. We have Johnny Depp as Tonto. Um, I really like the whole, never take off the mask theme, kind of how everybody thinks the guy who is the Lone Ranger is dead, and the Lone Ranger identity is kind of his new identity. He's anonymous. He helps the people out. It's kind of the Dark Knight-ized Western tale, and I really like that they're going a much darker route with it. I really hope this kind of brings Lone Ranger back as an icon because we haven't seen a lot of Lone Ranger stuff in a long time. It's definitely an older kind of story. We had the radio shows of it decades ago. There was a TV show from what I'm aware of. But we never have like a big budget movie about Lone Ranger, and I'm glad Disney's finally pursuing that because I really think with the right script, the right director, and the right cast, the Lone Ranger will be bigger than ever. So that comes out in July of 2013. Number three on my list, I'm also really looking forward to. It's Thor 2: The Dark World. It's the continuation of Thor. It's the continuation of Thor's story after the Avengers. Loki is coming back, I guess, as a minor character. We get to learn about new villains, kind of Thor's setup to Avengers 2. Um, we might even learn about the gems in this one, which I guess is going to be, they're going to kind of have the whole War of the Gems theme for Avengers 2 from what I'm aware of, because, they're introducing Thanos and all these other big Marvel characters that are a part of that War of the Gems story. So Thor 2: The Dark World, that comes out in November of 2013. Then, speaking of Marvel heroes, Iron Man 3 is number 2 on my list. Really, really love Iron Man. Iron Man's easily my favorite film of all time, this first film specifically. Iron Man 2 I enjoyed a lot. I'll admit there's a few flaws on it every once in a while. Avengers I'm also a huge fan of. It's for those who saw my top 10 of 2012 for film. It was Avengers was my number one pick for best film of 2012. Just really, really looking forward to Iron Man 3. I can go on for days of why I'm looking forward to Iron Man 3. I just love Robert Downey Jr. I love the Tony Stark character. Really, really hope they do something interesting with it. I know Mandarin and Aldrich Killen from the Extremist stories are going to be incorporated into the storyline. There's also been rumors of Iron Patriot and Rescue, who is Pepper Potts turning into given an Iron Man outfit of her own. Just so many things I'm looking forward to in Iron Man 3. Then number one on my list is Man of Steel. I really, really hope DC Comics, Zack Snyder, Christopher Nolan, David S. Goyer finally get Superman right. I really want a really good, knock out of your seat Superman film. And from what I've seen in the trailers, what I've seen in the set pictures, this film looks incredible. Zack Snyder, isn't the most well known when it comes to storyline, but his vision is great. I really hope that Christopher Nolan and David S. Goyer's idea for the storyline of Man of Steel really boosts Zack Snyder's career. I really hope that with a good script, with Christopher Nolan's guidance and help and direction, Snyder can give us a film that everybody's been looking forward to forever. I really hope Man of Steel is up there with The Dark Knight. I think with the right script, Superman is such an iconic superhero. He's one of the most famous superheroes of all time. It's only right to give him a huge, huge film that's equivalent to Dark Knight, if not, at least second choice for most people when it comes to superhero movies. Really, really looking forward to that one. So that was my top 10, you guys. Like I said, there's a ton of films coming out this coming year that we're already in, I guess. But these are just the 10 that I think are really, really notable. There's going to be credible in some ways from what I'm hoping. And I just hope you guys agree. If there is a film that I left out here that you think should have been on the list, feel free to comment below. Interested in seeing other films that you guys are looking forward to in 2013. I have a lot more than this. This is just a top 10. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you for the next one.